Hey there. Ready to ditch the daydreams and like actually book that trip you've been thinking about?
Always.
We're going deep
Yeah.
into the top 10 countries to travel to in 2025.
Okay.
And the best part is, our source doesn't just like name drop places,
Yeah.
right? It tells us why this year
Yeah.
is the perfect time to go to each one.
Right.
Some spots are having once-in-a-lifetime events, others are becoming more accessible,
Okay.
and some are just timeless classics that always deserve a visit.
What's fascinating to me is how this list goes beyond like the usual top 10 suspects.
Yeah.
It's not just about famous landmarks, it digs into unique experiences and even like hidden gems within each country.
I love that.
Yeah.
Bustling cities,
Yeah.
ancient ruins, natural wonders, and what really caught my eye were all the tips for traveling sustainably.
Yeah.
It's like they knew we want to be mindful adventurers.
Yeah.
So where should we kick off this global adventure?
I don't know. What do you think?
Japan seems like a good place to start. Talk about a country that blends tradition and technology in a way that blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you could experience a centuries-old tea ceremony in the morning and then find yourself immersed in a virtual reality arcade in the afternoon.
What's captivating about Japan is how they've managed to weave technology into their cultural fabric
Right.
without losing their traditions.
Right.
For example, the source mentions a digital art museum in Tokyo that uses cutting-edge technology to bring traditional Japanese art to life in a completely immersive way.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And speaking of incredible, what makes 2025 stand out for Japan? Is there something like special happening this year?
You bet. Japan is hosting the World Expo in Osaka,
Okay.
focusing on the theme of designing future society for our lives.
Wow.
They'll have pavilions from all over the world showcasing groundbreaking innovations and ideas for a sustainable future.
So not only can you experience traditional and modern Japan, but you can also get a glimpse into the future.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know our source also mentioned some off-the-beaten-path gems in Japan. What were those again?
Yes. For those seeking a quieter experience,
Right.
the source recommends exploring the Tohoku region. It's known for its stunning natural beauty, think of mountains, hot springs, and coastal scenery.
Oh, wow.
And it's less crowded than the more popular tourist destinations.
See, that's what I love about this source.
Yeah.
It's like having a friend who's traveled the world give you insider tips.
Right.
Speaking of tips, any practical advice for navigating Japan?
Absolutely. The source recommends taking advantage of the Japan Rail Pass.
Okay.
Especially if you plan to do a lot of traveling within the country. It's a cost-effective way to get around, and it gives you access to Japan's incredibly efficient and comfortable high-speed rail network.
Okay. Japan Rail Pass. Check. Now, I know our next stop is Italy.
Yeah.
And while I'm always up for pasta and ancient ruins,
Right.
what makes 2025 the year to go? Italy just feels so, like, timeless, you know?
Right, but what's interesting is that our source emphasizes Italy's move towards sustainable tourism in 2025. For example, Venice is starting to phase out those massive cruise ships that were damaging the lagoon.
It's about time. That's a huge win for responsible travel. I also saw something about electric gondolas.
Exactly. Venice is implementing electric gondolas to reduce noise and water pollution in the canals. They're also investing in eco-friendly water taxis and promoting cycling and walking tours.
So you can still enjoy that romantic gondola ride, but with a smaller environmental footprint. That's what I call a win-win.
I agree.
And of course, we can't talk about Italy without mentioning the food.
Right.
What are some culinary highlights our source mentioned?
Well, beyond the classic pizza and pasta, the source recommends exploring regional specialties. For example, in Tuscany, you can indulge in hearty ribollita soup and fresh pecorino cheese. And in the Emilia-Romagna region, you can try the famous bolognese sauce and Parmigiano Reggiano cheese.
Okay, now I'm officially starving.
Me too.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
any insider tips for visiting Italy in 2025?
The source recommends traveling during the shoulder seasons, spring and fall, to avoid the summer crowds and enjoy milder weather. Plus, you might find better deals on flights and accommodations.
Shoulder seasons, I'm adding that to my travel vocabulary. So, next on our list is New Zealand, a country that's been on my bucket list forever. I know those landscapes. It's like stepping into a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
But what makes 2025 the year to finally make the trip?
New Zealand is really emphasizing ecotourism in 2025. They're opening a network of new eco-lodges designed to blend seamlessly with the natural environment.
Wow.
These lodges are built using sustainable materials, powered by renewable energy, and offer immersive nature experiences.
So you can experience the beauty of New Zealand without leaving a heavy footprint. Sign me up. But let's talk adventure. I know New Zealand is a haven for thrill seekers.
Yes.
What kind of activities does the source suggest?
Well, for starters, hiking is a must-do in New Zealand.
Okay.
The source recommends exploring Fiordland National Park, home to Milford Sound, which Rudyard Kipling called the eighth wonder of the world.
Wow.
You can also hike the Tongariro Alpine Crossing, a volcanic landscape that's said to have inspired Mordor in the Lord of the Rings films.
Okay, that's epic. I'm also a huge fan of the Lord of the Rings, so visiting Hobbiton is non-negotiable.
Of course. Hobbiton is a must-visit for any fan of the films.
Yeah.
And for a truly unique experience, the source recommends visiting the Waitomo Caves, home to thousands of glowworms that create a magical, starry sky effect.
Okay, glowworm caves, check. I'm sensing a theme here. 2025 is all about unique, immersive experiences. And speaking of unique, our next destination is Greece. Now, I love the idea of exploring ancient ruins and soaking up the sun on those iconic whitewashed islands. But what makes 2025 special? Isn't Greece kind of always amazing?
True, but our source highlights a few key reasons why 2025 is a particularly good year to visit. First, Greece is focusing on promoting lesser-known islands to combat over-tourism. They're investing in sustainable infrastructure and promoting cultural experiences on islands like Milos, Naxos, and Syros.
So you can still experience the beauty of the Greek islands, but without the crowds. I like it. What kind of cultural experiences are they promoting?
Well, the source specifically mentions culinary tourism.
Okay.
They're offering cooking classes where you can learn to make traditional Greek dishes like moussaka and spanakopita using locally sourced ingredients. They're also promoting wine tours in regions like Santorini and Crete, which are known for their unique volcanic wines.
Now, that's my kind of cultural immersion. And speaking of immersion, any tips for experiencing authentic Greek culture beyond the tourist traps?
The source suggests attending local festivals, which are deeply ingrained in Greek culture. For example, the carnival season, which starts in February and culminates in a week of festivities before Lent, is a great time to experience the vibrancy and energy of Greek celebrations.
Okay, Greek carnival, noted. But before we move on to our next destination, any practical advice for traveling in Greece in 2025?
The source recommends visiting during the shoulder seasons, especially spring and fall, to avoid the summer crowds and enjoy pleasant weather. They also suggest using ferries to hop between islands, which offers a more scenic and leisurely way to travel compared to flying.
Okay, ferries it is. Now, get ready for a dramatic shift in scenery, because our next stop is Iceland, the land of fire and ice. What's not to love about a place with glaciers, volcanoes, and the northern lights?
What's fascinating is that Iceland is relatively new to tourism, having only recently become a popular destination. The source highlights how Iceland is trying to balance the influx of tourists with its commitment to sustainability.
That's a challenge a lot of destinations are facing. How is Iceland approaching it?
Well, for one, they're encouraging visitors to explore beyond the popular Golden Circle route and discover less visited areas like the West Fjords and the Snæfellsnes Peninsula. They're also investing in eco-friendly transportation options and promoting responsible tourism practices.
I love that. It's all about spreading the love, right? And speaking of spreading the love, what are some must-do activities in Iceland?
Well, the Blue Lagoon is definitely a popular choice. But the source also recommends checking out the Mývatn nature baths, which are less crowded and offer a similar geothermal spa experience.
Noted. What about those iconic waterfalls and glaciers?
Absolutely. Hiking to waterfalls like Skogafoss and Seljalandsfoss is a must-do. And for a truly unique experience, the source recommends taking a glacial walk on Solheimajökull, which allows you to explore the crevasses and ice formations up close.
Okay, glacier walk. Added to the list. And of course, we can't forget about the northern lights. Is there a specific time of year that's best for seeing them?
The best time to see the northern lights is during the winter months, from September to April, when the nights are long and dark.
Perfect. I'm already picturing myself bundled up in a cozy cabin, sipping hot chocolate, and watching the northern lights dance across the sky. But before we move on to our next adventure,
any
practical tips for navigating Iceland?
The source recommends renting a 4x4 vehicle. Especially if you plan on exploring the highlands or driving the ring road, which circles the entire island. They also suggest packing layers of clothing, as the weather in Iceland can be unpredictable.
Got it. Layers in a 4x4. Well, I'm feeling pretty adventurous now. How about you? Ready to head to Southeast Asia? Thailand is next on our list.
Let's do it. Thailand is known for its vibrant culture, delicious food, and beautiful beaches. And what's interesting is that our source highlights a growing trend in Thailand: community-based tourism.
Tell me more about that.
It's all about supporting local communities and experiencing authentic Thai culture. Travelers can stay in homestays, participate in cooking classes with local families, learn traditional crafts, and contribute to sustainable development projects.
That's a fantastic way to give back while traveling. And speaking of giving back, I know Thailand is famous for its temples. Any tips for visiting them respectfully?
Absolutely. The source emphasizes the importance of dressing modestly when visiting temples, covering your shoulders and knees. It's also important to remove your shoes before entering temple buildings and to be mindful of the sacred space.
Good reminders. Now, I know Thailand has a ton of incredible destinations. What are some of the highlights from our source?
Well, Bangkok is a must-visit for its bustling market, street food, and iconic temples like Wat Arun and Wat Pho. The source also recommends exploring the ancient city of Ayutthaya, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and visiting the floating markets near Bangkok for a unique cultural experience.
Floating markets, check. I'm also a big fan of Thai food. Any tips for navigating the culinary scene?
The source recommends trying street food, which is a huge part of Thai culture. You can find everything from pad thai and green curry to mango sticky rice and fresh coconut water.
Sounds delicious. Any tips for avoiding those tourist traps and finding the best local spots?
The source suggests asking locals for recommendations. You can also look for places that are crowded with locals, as that's usually a good sign of quality and authenticity.
Great advice. Now, before we move on to our next destination, are there any practical tips for traveling in Thailand?
The source recommends learning a few basic Thai phrases, as it can go a long way in showing respect and connecting with locals. They also suggest being mindful of scams, especially in tourist areas.
Good to know. Thailand sounds incredible. I'm ready to book my ticket right now. But let's hold off for a second because we have one more stop on this leg of our global adventure. We're heading back to Europe, to a country that's known for its charming cities, beautiful beaches, and delicious food and wine: Portugal.
What I find interesting about Portugal is that it's often overlooked compared to its European neighbors, but it offers a similar charm and beauty at a more affordable price. The source highlights how Portugal is becoming increasingly popular with digital nomads and remote workers who are drawn to its laid-back lifestyle, affordable cost of living, and good internet connectivity.
That makes sense. So it's a great destination for those seeking a blend of work and travel. But let's talk about the travel part. What are some must-visit destinations in Portugal?
Well, Lisbon is a must-visit for its charming neighborhoods, historic trams, and vibrant nightlife. The source also recommends exploring Porto, known for its port wine production, and historic Ribeira district. And of course, no trip to Portugal would be complete without visiting the Algarve, known for its golden beaches, dramatic cliffs, and picturesque towns.
Lisbon, Porto, Algarve, check. And speaking of picturesque towns, I saw something about Sintra.
Yes. Sintra is a fairy tale town located just outside of Lisbon. It's known for its romantic palaces, colorful castles, and lush gardens. The Pina National Palace, with its vibrant colors and eclectic architectural styles, is a must-see.
Sintra sounds like it's straight out of a Disney movie. But before we get too carried away, any practical tips for traveling in Portugal?
The source recommends learning a few basic Portuguese phrases, as it shows respect and can be helpful in navigating local interactions. They also suggest using public transportation, especially in cities like Lisbon and Porto, which have efficient and affordable metro systems.
Great advice. Now, let's keep this momentum going. We've explored 7 incredible destinations so far, but we still have 3 more to go. Where to next?
Well, let's head south to a destination that offers a blend of adventure, wildlife, and cultural immersion.
Yeah.
Get ready for South Africa.
South Africa has always been high on my list. I mean, who wouldn't want to go on safari and see the big five and their natural habitat?
Right.
But I'm also curious about the cultural experiences South Africa has to offer. What's our source say about that?
The source highlights the importance of experiencing the diverse cultures of South Africa beyond just the wildlife. They specifically mention visiting townships like Soweto, where you can learn about the history of apartheid and the resilience of the South African people. They also recommend attending cultural events and festivals to experience the music, dance, and cuisine of the different ethnic groups that make up South Africa.
That's a side of South Africa I haven't really considered before. It's important to remember that travel isn't just about seeing beautiful places. It's about understanding the people and cultures that make those places unique. Speaking of unique, what are some must-do activities in South Africa, according to our source?
Well, a safari in Kruger National Park is definitely a must-do. It's one of the largest game reserves in Africa.
Wow.
And you have a good chance of seeing lions, elephants, leopards, rhinos, and buffalo.
That's incredible.
The source also recommends visiting Cape Town,
Okay.
which is known for its stunning natural beauty, including Table Mountain,
Right.
and its vibrant cultural scene.
Cape Town sounds incredible. I've seen pictures of Table Mountain, and it's breathtaking. Any tips for experiencing the best of Cape Town?
The source recommends taking a cable car to the top of Table Mountain for panoramic views of the city and coastline. They also suggest visiting the Kirstenbosch National Botanical Garden, which showcases the unique flora of South Africa.
Cool.
And for a taste of local culture, they recommend visiting the Bo-Kaap neighborhood, which is known for its brightly colored houses and Cape Malay cuisine.
Okay, Bo-Kaap and Cape Malay cuisine are going on my list.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on to our next destination, any practical tips for navigating South Africa?
The source recommends being aware of safety concerns, especially in urban areas.
Right.
They suggest avoiding walking alone at night and being cautious of your surroundings. They also recommend learning a few basic phrases in Afrikaans or Xhosa, which are widely spoken languages in South Africa.
Great advice. Okay, I'm feeling ready to tackle the African continent, but now we're jumping to a whole other hemisphere. Next up is Australia, the land of kangaroos, koalas, and, well, a whole lot of adventure. What's making 2025 stand out for Australia?
Australia is always a popular destination, but the source highlights a few key reasons why 2025 is a particularly good year to visit. First, they're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Uluru-Katutura National Park.
Wow.
Which is home to the iconic Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock.
Right.
There will be special events and celebrations throughout the year,
Cool.
making it an extra special time to experience this sacred site.
That's incredible. I've always wanted to see Uluru. But Australia is so vast and diverse. Where else does our source suggest we explore?
Well, the Great Barrier Reef is a must-see for its incredible marine biodiversity.
Yeah.
But the source also emphasizes the importance of responsible tourism, as the reef is facing threats from climate change and pollution. They recommend choosing tour operators that are committed to sustainable practices and minimizing their impact on the environment.
That's something I think all travelers should be mindful of, no matter where we go. But let's be honest, part of the allure of Australia is its wildlife. Besides the reef, are there any other wildlife experiences the source recommends?
Absolutely. They suggest visiting Kangaroo Island, which is known for its abundance of wildlife, including kangaroos, koalas, sea lions, and penguins.
Oh, wow.
You can also go whale watching off the coast of Hervey Bay, which is known as the whale watching capital of the world.
Okay, now we're talking. Kangaroos, koalas, whales. It's like a wildlife enthusiast's dream come true.
Yeah.
But Australia is more than just animals and natural wonders, right? What about its cities?
Of course. Sydney is a must-visit for its iconic Opera House and Harbour Bridge. The source also recommends exploring Melbourne, which is known for its vibrant arts and culture scene, its laneway cafes and bars, and its street art. And for a more laid-back city vibe, they suggest visiting Brisbane, which has a subtropical climate and is a great base for exploring the nearby rainforests and beaches.
So many options. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by all the incredible things to do in Australia. Any practical tips for navigating this massive country?
The source recommends planning your trip carefully, as distances between destinations can be vast. They suggest focusing on one or two regions rather than trying to see everything. They also recommend renting a car or camper van for maximum flexibility in exploring the countryside.
Okay, road trip through Australia sounds like an epic adventure. But before we start packing our bags, let's head to our final destination. A country steeped in ancient history and mystery, Peru.
What's fascinating about Peru is its ancient Inca heritage, which is still very much present in the country today. The source highlights how Peru is working to preserve its cultural heritage while also promoting responsible tourism.
I love that. It's so important to balance tourism with cultural preservation. But let's be honest, most people travel to Peru to see one thing, Machu Picchu. What does our source say about experiencing this iconic site in 2025?
They emphasize the importance of booking permits in advance, as there are limits on the number of visitors allowed to enter Machu Picchu each day. They also recommend considering alternative treks, like the Salcante trek, which offers stunning views and a less crowded experience compared to the classic Inca Trail.
That's a good point. I've heard the Inca Trail can get pretty crowded. What else does our source recommend for experiencing the best of Peru beyond Machu Picchu?
They suggest exploring the Sacred Valley, which is home to numerous Inca ruins and traditional villages. They also recommend visiting Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, and exploring the Amazon rainforest, which is home to incredible biodiversity.
Wow, Peru really does have it all. Ancient ruins, stunning landscapes, and incredible biodiversity. Any practical tips for navigating Peru?
The source recommends learning a few basic Spanish phrases, as it can be helpful in communicating with locals. They also suggest being prepared for altitude sickness, especially if you're visiting high-altitude areas like Cusco and Machu Picchu.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Well, we've reached the end of our global adventure. 10 incredible destinations, each with its own unique charm and appeal. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling incredibly inspired to start planning my next trip.
It's been an incredible journey exploring these destinations and uncovering those hidden gems and unique experiences that make 2025 a special year to visit each one.
Absolutely. I feel like we've been given a sneak peek into the future of travel.
A
future where sustainability, cultural immersion, and authentic experiences take center stage.
I think that's a key takeaway from this deep dive. It's not just about going to a place. It's about engaging with it on a deeper level, whether it's through supporting local communities, participating in ecotourism initiatives, or simply taking the time to learn about the history and culture of the places we visit.
And our source has given us so many tools to do just that. From practical tips like using public transportation and learning Duthic phrases, to insightful recommendations for ethical tour operators and community-based tourism projects.
It's like they've anticipated our desire to travel more consciously and provided us with a roadmap for doing so. And what's exciting is that this shift toward more meaningful travel is happening across the globe, from the bustling cities of Japan to the remote islands of Greece.
I think it reflects a growing awareness among travelers that we have a responsibility to protect the places we visit. And to ensure that tourism benefits local communities. And the beauty of it is that this kind of travel is often more rewarding. Both personally and for the planet.
Absolutely. When we travel with intention and respect, we open ourselves up to richer experiences, deeper connections, and a greater appreciation for the diversity of our world.
And that brings us to the most important question. Where will you go next?
That's the beauty of this list, isn't it? It's sparked our curiosity and given us a starting point for planning our own adventures.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless other destinations waiting to be explored, each with its own unique story to tell.
So let this be a catalyst for your own explorations. Dive deeper into the destinations that resonate with you, research sustainable travel options, and don't be afraid to venture off the beaten path.
The world is waiting. So go out there, explore, and create your own unforgettable travel stories. Happy travels, everyone.